Hey, BJ O'Neill here with Business Coach Mastery, all with a training about solving lead gen, specifically with working with your sphere of influence. When we say that, you may say, well, when you say sphere of influence, what exactly do you mean? We're talking about your family, your friends, your neighbors, those that are in your small group at your church, your banker, your dentist, the dry cleaner, right? It's anybody who you know personally at any level. Now, I want to stop your thinking if you're one of those that are like, well, I don't, when it comes to growing my business coaching practice, I don't want to bother my friends. I don't want to bother those people I know, right? And if you're thinking that I don't want to approach them just like I've had to approach them with, my kids and my grandkids, selling stuff for sports and for school and all those types of things. Let me rest your mind already that is not what we're talking about. And what I want to encourage you from a mindset perspective into what to think about this is really all about, number one, from a framework and a mindset. God created you and me. God created you and your friends and your family and so on, right? He also created community. And at the end of the day, we all want to truly help one another, especially those we know and love. It's really more about, number one, your approach. That's really the big thing. How you approach those that you know in your sphere of influence. And we're not discussing and talking about only those business owners that they may know. Actually, that's probably the lesser point. The bigger point is to who do they know in their sphere of their network that is connected to the community or to other people that you need to know in helping you grow your business coaching practice. So number one, it's about your mindset, the way you approach when you add value, and you're doing this in a way that makes great content, it makes good sense, and you're building a solid relationship. People do want to help you because they love you, right? But when we approach them with our hand out, which is often how, and no offense to the MLMs of the world or whatever, selling, again, items for our kids throughout the years of in the childbearing phase. That's not what we're doing. What we're saying is we're going to invite them. This is really important to write down. We're going to invite them into our story. We're going to invite them into what we're doing. And there's a way to do that. I'm going to share that with you today about how to do that well to where people get excited. They want to root for you. They want to champion you. They want to help you. And more importantly, they want to help connect you. All right? That's the beautiful part and why we call it a sphere of influence. So the first thing that you want to do after you understand that from just a philosophical mindset perspective, I'm doing this for a reason. And this happens all the time. People walk over, meaning they skip all these relationships that they already have. And here's what happens when you do that. When you ignore all those that you already know, and you're only trying to interact with those people that you don't know, it's going to take a significant more amount of time, period. Why? Because you're building brand new relationships, and that's just more difficult to do. Absolutely works. That part we all know. Or you should, if you don't know, you should understand that. It absolutely works. However, it just takes a lot of time. And so as you're really kind of getting the motor running and getting your business coaching practice up and running, don't ignore the people that are in your sphere of influence. You want to invite them into what God's doing in your life. So it's just the framework and the way you do it. So the first thing, as you reach out, we'll make the assumption for this conversation that you're going to reach out in an email form. And you want to write that email in a way that is all about, hey, I want to share with you what's going on in my life, the direction that God has me going and what I'm really doing and why I'm doing it. Like you're beginning to set this up as to, you're not just asking, hey, who do you know that I need to know? You're beginning to help them understand what you're doing, the direction that God has for your life, why you're doing it, and what your kind of goals are. We all have goals. We all have dreams. And so those that we know when they come to us and they begin to share with us, especially when you look at your sphere, there's kind of layers of it. Meaning there's your family and friends that are super close to you. Then there's the next layer and the next layer and so on. So as you're activating those first couple of layers, these people, you're not having to explain who you are. You're not having to explain your background. You're not having to explain where you've been and why and all that. They already know those things. When you're developing brand new relationships, you're having to kind of start the onion fresh. And that's why it takes so long. And so you want to start with your first couple of layers and begin to really share with them where you're going, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. And then you're going to make an invitation to invite them into the process. And things like this. Share the link of your website and say, here's what I'm doing, because your website can kind of start to tell the story for you. They're getting a visual on their own to begin to just understand, to digest exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. Now, in our coaching community, the done-for-you system that we give Christian business coaches to start and grow their coaching business, one of the things we do that as well as we encourage them to also link to your bio. And when you're asking them you say, hey, here's a link to my bio. I would love your feedback. And you really do want their feedback. You want to hear from them. But this is helping you get connected to them. You're using the tools, that being your website and your bio, to do part of the heavy lifting of helping them understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what you're all about. Now, if you have any other tools that you use, for instance, in our system, we have a tool called a Profit Acceleration Simulation Tool. And it's just a tool that helps business owners to be able to really kind of see quickly what small incremental percentage adjustment changes can look like and how that can have a rapid acceleration to their profits and their revenues. So we use that link also. It's like, hey, I also want to share a tool that I want you just to see, because on our tool, it has a little video, explains what's going on and everything. This helps your sphere of influence to see some of the content that you're doing. Or there could be other content that you could use, whatever that would make sense for you. Prayerfully, you're beginning to see the idea. You're telling your family or your friends or those in your network what God's going on in your life, the direction that you're having, the purpose behind it, what your goals are and what you're hoping to achieve. You're giving them a picture of what's happening with your website. You're inviting them to check out your bio and give feedback. And oh, by the way, here's a tool that I use. I just thought you might find it interesting to see one of the ways that I interact with the business community and how I can help them. All right. And so that's kind of the setup, right? And you're just kind of, working through that. So you send that to them. Within a day or so, you send them a text. And I'm a big believer in a multi-channel conversation. People are busy. They may not see your email immediately. So you want to follow up with them via a text. Say, hey, BJ, I hope you saw my email, to kind of share with you the direction that God has had me going down in my life right now, where I'm headed in my life. Would love to connect with you soon. Would you be available for coffee or for lunch or for breakfast or whatever? So the point is your text message, what you're doing is that's going to be the call to action to the next thing. Now you got to remember, days and weeks could go by in between all of this. Again, people are busy. You're not the first thing that's on the top of their mind. Everyone's got stuff going on. But the purpose is that the email has the context of what's going on. The text message, short form, is the invitation where you're going to go in person with them in an ideal scenario to really begin to unfold all of it from what you sent them in the email. That should make sense to you. Now, you may say, well, I've got friends that they don't live where I live. Okay, do a Zoom call. All right. Obviously, in person is always going to be better, but it's not uncommon at all to sync up on Zoom or FaceTime or whatever. You definitely don't want to do just a phone call. You want to make sure you get some type of, and you can certainly do that with Zoom, period. If that doesn't work, try coffee, try breakfast, try lunch. That's the goal. As you get a chance to get in front of them, you're going to expand what you've already shared with them. And this is where you're going to invite them into getting connected with them. Say, look, here's what I'm asking. Who in your network do you believe that I should know? And let me tell you what that means. I'm looking to create some joint venture partners with, and I'm using my example here, accountants, financial planners, business brokers, bankers. Make a small list, or obviously any business owners that you would know that is just someone that I need to know to help expand my current network. That's going to help me achieve my goals. A little side note, you may have someone in your sphere of influence that is one of those. And so creating a relationship with them could be a good idea. More of them won't be that, but there could be those moments. You're also going to have direct business owners in your sphere of influence. Some of you will, that you want to interact with too. And so prayerfully, you begin to see when handled correctly, when you build that relationship, you invite them in, help them see what's going on, let them see some of your content, explain to them how you're going to sit down and how you're going to work with business owners and helping them achieve their goals, whether it's financial and leadership or whatever it's going to be, and let them really get into your story. Because when you do, that's the bigger point. How you do it, we can all change, shift, contemplate and whatnot. But when you do that, that's the power of truly working with your sphere of influence that's going to help you. You don't really need that many people. You really don't, to make a very high successful business coaching practice. And if you're asking, what does that mean? Well, I mean, depends on what you're going to charge, which the range is typically $1,000 to $5,000 a month. From there, it's just math. If you're going to have one-on-one and you're charging $2,000 a month, you have 5 clients, you're at $120,000 a year. So it's not like you need a ton. But you need to be concise with it. And when you have the right joint venture partners, when you have the right relationships, when you have the right people who knows what you're doing and they're sending, hey, you got to know this person that I know who can help you kind of thing. That's where things can dramatically shift to where you're not always, you want to get yourself in a position over time to becoming the hunted. That's the power of building a long-lasting, full-blown business coaching practice. So lastly, as you are talking with someone in your sphere of influence, you've got them to coffee, lunch, or whatever, you're really unfolding. And this is where you're not only just saying, hey, who do I need to know in your network? If they actually know those people, and certainly business owners, give them a couple of helps. Don't put it up on their responsibility to do all the heavy lifting. Use some type of format to say, hey, if you don't mind, you can just put those names and numbers right here. I don't mind to follow up with them. Or what I can do is you want to give them a small format of an email introduction to that individual. Like you're going to pre-write it. They can scrub it up a little bit. It just helps them not to have to come up with content on their own. This is going to fast track a significant amount of those conversations that you're working with. So recap. You'll want to reach out via email. Share your heart. Share what God's doing in your heart. Give them some picture and some ideas of what's going on in their life. Let them see some of the tools. Bring them in. Invite them into the story. Number 2, reach back out to them via text. Hope you saw my email. Would love to sit down with you coffee and just really share with you my heart, where I'm at, and where God's leading me. The third, make it easy for them to share their network with you. Some type of format, framework. That's what we use. We have just what we call a perfect client match kind of thing, to where these are the kind of folks I'm trying to look for. Joint ventures or businesses in this range or this industry or whatever you decide to do as a coach. And the fourth, give them some type of template to reach out to their network and to introduce you, and then you can take it from there. And then they're off the hook. They don't have to do anything else. But lastly, what you want to do is you want to continue to engage with them, right? Share your successes as you have them, even if it has nothing to do with them. That's going to keep them energized. That's going to keep them engaged. That's going to keep them in a position to want to continue to help you long term. It's like, hey, BJ, I just got my first client. Hey, BJ, I just got my third client. Hey, I just had this business owner who we just helped do XYZ. Like, share your successes, share your challenges. Hey, man, wanted to reach out to you. Man, it's been a nuts week. Could you say a prayer for me? I mean, invite them to pray for you into what you're going through. This is what your sphere of influence truly can look like if done correctly. Perhaps you're like, you know what? I really have a fair decent sphere of influence. I want to start my business coaching practice. Just don't know where to begin. Maybe the gap is you have knowledge, skill, desire. Some of those or all of those or whatever. You can coach others. You really feel called to do that. You love to inspire, to teach, and all those things. The gap is you don't have tools, resources, and systems to be able to actually go do it in a systematic way. That's what we do. If you'd love to talk about it or with some resources, just simply go to businesscoachmastery.com. That's businesscoachmastery.com. You'll see some resources there. And if you want to chat about it, and I don't mind, either myself or someone on my team, we'll sit with you, we'll share with you exactly what we do. You can make a decision for yourself if it's worth learning more about, and we'll go from there. All right? Until next time, take care.